good morning and welcome to another episode of Just Ask Stuey. So today I really wanted to talk about a couple of things really. So where we are right now, Department of Transport, main roads in Queensland. So we're still getting a lot of calls asking if we can book pupils' driving tests for them. We can generally, but at the moment, the Department of Transport, obviously, for when they closed for COVID-19, they cancelled like a lot of lessons and a lot of tests that were already pre-booked. So at the moment, they're kind of working through that backlog. And as of Monday just gone, so the 22nd of June, if you had a test booked on or after the 9th of April that was cancelled, you can now reschedule that test, but they're still not taking bookings for new driving tests at the moment. So like I say, basically the bottom line is if you already had a test booked that was cancelled for COVID by the Department of Transport, you can now call them. Obviously I'm talking specifically Queensland, obviously we're in Brisbane. So you can kind of rebook those now or reschedule those. We don't do that for you. Call the Department of Transport yourself and arrange a suitable time and date based on your schedule. And once you've done that, give us a call in the office or jump online and book in that test with the Department of Transport. Booking the test that you did book with the Department of Transport with a driving instructor, as you normally would. So once it's booked, give us a call and we'll schedule an instructor that aligns with your appointment, or you can jump on the website, rac.com.au, and do the same thing essentially. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is international license holders. Obviously, there's a lot of countries where the license isn't recognised in Queensland, or in Australia, and you have to resit your test after you have been in the country for a certain period of time. What we're finding is a lot of international or overseas people with international driving licenses, they're just rocking up to the Department of Transport, booking a test, sitting that driving test and failing, unfortunately. Now what that means is that once you've failed that driving test, you cannot drive on your international license anymore. So essentially you become deemed unfit to drive by yourself because you've been unsuccessful in that driving test. And obviously that means you don't have a license. Now what the process should be after that is that you then apply for a learner license, which is around about $170. So then you can only drive with L plates on the car and a passenger with you. What seems to be happening is that people don't know that, and then they don't want to pay the $170 to get a learner license after they've just been unsuccessful for the driving test. Obviously they're not in the mindset of now let's spend another $170, especially when they get another test rescheduled within a few days after this one, or the one that they've just been unsuccessful. So they're not going to pay $170 to wait 3 days and then sit the test again and potentially pass. Now what that means is that the same person who drove to the test with their international license intact failed, then they drive away unlicensed essentially, and we do see that happen a fair bit. But the way to avoid all this, the way to avoid this whole waste of money, waste of time from your part, and this isn't a sales pitch from me, you can do whatever you want ultimately, but realistically the people that get through are the ones that have an international license. They book a driving test, right? And before they go for that driving test, they have a couple of lessons with us, even just one lesson with us, an assessment, just so we can kind of say, look, this is the area that you need to really focus on for the next week or so before your driving test, and we can fully prepare them for the test, let them know what's going to happen on the day. Some people turn up with a car that's not roadworthy, if you've got bald tyres, if you've got a light that's not working, if your horn doesn't work, the examiner won't even take you out on the test again, so you've lost your money. Obviously you've still got your license in that instance, but you've wasted your money for the test. So advice from me, my professional advice will be to book at least one session with a professional driving instructor. Let them take you out, have a chat with you. A pupil went out recently who did exactly that. He'd gone for his test the day before in his own car, failed, unfortunately. Then he drove his own car back. He had a test booked the next day, so essentially he didn't have a license to drive his car. Then his driving habits were poor. He was failing for not understanding the road rules, going through stop signs, stopping on keep clear lines on the road. He was coasting when he was driving, so he's in a manual clutch down, coasting around corners all the time. Now these habits are not going to change unless you have professional lessons and guidance, and he'll keep spending money and keep being unsuccessful on that driving test, whereas all that could have been avoided with 1 or 2 lessons at the beginning, just to prepare him for the test. And chances are we would have repaired them bad habits pretty quickly, and within a couple of weeks he probably would have sat his test and passed first time. Instead now he's in this kind of downward spiral of keep booking the test, spending the money, being unsuccessful. He's spending the money in the wrong place. You know, he should be spending money on driving lessons to get him to a point where he's good enough to drive in Australia safely and get through the test. So just a bit of advice for international license holders. Like I say, you don't have to book with us, you can book with anyone, but my advice is if you are going for an Australian driving test, like any other learner, have 1 or 2 lessons with a professional school. They can prepare you fully for the driving test. And if you have got any major problems, we can discuss maybe putting your test back a couple of weeks. Bearing in mind, all through this period, you still have your international license intact. As soon as you go for that test and you're unsuccessful, it's gone. So then you're on a learner license. Okay, so protect yourself from that angle. Do the right thing, get some lessons, be prepared, and then go for the test. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on that really. RAC School of Motoring do an international license changeover package, and we kind of found that we designed that off the average of international students that we've had and what they've needed in the past, and that includes 2 1-hour sessions, so separate days, 2 1-hour sessions, and then the test day package where you get another hour before the driving test, and then the car hire for the driving test as well. Obviously they all include pickup from home and drop off at home as well, at the end of the lesson and after the driving test. So I think that's $285. So we've discounted the lessons a little bit, but essentially it's $285 for the whole thing, 2 lessons and the driving test package. Obviously it doesn't include the Department of Transport booking fee, which is like $60 I think it is for the test that you pay to them, but our service for that is $285. Now it might sound like a lot, it's really not when you think that if you keep pumping, you know, $60 here, $60 there, $170 to use a car for the test from a driving school, but you keep being unsuccessful because you're not investing the money in the right area, being the preparation side of things. $285 you could be done and dusted, as opposed to keep spending money on car hires and driving tests when, you know, unfortunately you're not ready to sit the test yet. But anyway, that's pretty much it. So main message today was for international license holders, and obviously if you've got any queries about that, international license holders, give the office a call. Obviously Queensland 07 3123 5412, or send an inquiry via the website at racsom.com.au. My name's Stuart. People in the office will tell you that exactly the same as what I've just told you. So if you don't have to speak to me specifically, you can speak to them as well. You know, we're here to kind of guide you through the process. So like I said, this isn't a sales pitch or anything, just to let you know what's happening. I guess from the macro is that people think, well, I can drive like this in my country, I'll just pass my test in Australia. The standards are a little bit different, as are the road rules. A lot of countries drive on the opposite side of the road to us here, so it's really is worth that investment of a couple of driving lessons. And just finally, just to touch on the driving tests again, if you've not had a driving test booked previously that was cancelled for COVID, you can't book another test just yet. So the Department of Transport is still working through the backlog of cancelled tests, and you'll find out probably when we do, when public bookings are available again. So it'll be obviously on the news and Facebook and everywhere like that, and then then it'll be mayhem, I guess, again with everyone wanting to book the test. But apart from that, that's it from me. Any questions, comments below. If you don't mind sharing, maybe follows, likes, subscribe to the channel, and let me know if there's anything that you want answers to. Anyway, look after yourselves and stay safe out there. Cheers.